Hello and welcome back. A lot of you have asked me about the process and the costs. I assume you already know what you want to buy. Step number one, research. Gather as much information as possible for each step you're going to take. How would you like to import your vehicle? Are you going to use a UK exporter or are you going to use someone directly in Japan? I use the latter. Reason being, you cut the middleman, reduce costs. As I explained in my previous videos, I've used Pacific Coast Autos in Japan. The guys were literally awesome. Before I went with them, I did an extensive research. Even though I knew they had quite a bit of presence on social media, I've looked up pretty much the whole of internet, searching for their name, searching for their owner's name, searching for the people who work there. I saw lots of posts on JDM forums, on specific like Silvia forums, Nissan Silvia forums. I've seen posts on Reddit, I've seen posts in the US about the company. I also asked a lot of people on the Alphard forums and groups on Facebook who have used Pacific Coast Autos. So I private messaged them and asked them about their experience, etc. Irrelevant of who you want to use, do your own research. Dependent on the exporter you use, you should have two options. You either go via the auction route, meaning you bid on a specific car that you want to buy. You buy that car, the exporter ships the car to you, you register it in the UK, and that's that. Or you can buy a car from a dealer in Japan. Then of course, there's less risk. You'll have warranty, which you're probably not going to use because the car's going to be in the UK anyway. But you have more of a peace of mind that the car has been thoroughly checked, it's sound, and when it arrives in the UK, it's not going to break down on you. Whereas if you buy a car at the auction, I don't know if you ever bought a car at the auction here in the UK, I did, loads of cars. Buying from a Japanese car auction is almost similar to buying a car at places like British Car Auction or any other auction houses across the UK. If you've previously purchased a car at one of the UK auctions, you will know that there are many tricks being performed by auction houses. A quick example can be the fact that I've seen many Alphards being rolled to various auctions and graded differently. So like it was the same car that was unsold on week 1. Next week you see it on the other auction graded 3, which is like has mechanical faults basically. And then the following month you'll see the same car graded as 3.5 at another auction. The seller of the vehicle is looking for a dummy who will not spot the difference, and you end up buying a junk. So even when you picked a car that you want to buy, you need to do research. When you register with Pacific Coast Autos, you're able to browse on their platform that shows all the auctions, and in there is a button where you can see like historic listings, and some of the cars, when you click on the listing, you'll see that they've been rolled out for like 3 months. It can be because a lot of experienced dealers and buyers avoid buying a junk because they know it's a junk, or a seller is trying to reach a specific price threshold before they can part with a car. Anyway, be very, very careful. As with anything you buy, there's always going to be some form of associated risk, even when you buy cars from dealers. Like for example, in 2020, I bought a Volkswagen Golf GTI performance pack from JCT 600, I believe they were called, and the engine blew up in like 20 days. So let me take a step back. I've determined that I wanted to buy an Alphard. So I looked on Auto Trader, various groups, and in the spec, the base price for my car was coming up to £15,000. Then I had to calculate, is it worth me buying a car in Japan, or should I buy a car from someone in the UK? Once I've researched into the past sales, I've researched into the shipping cost, I've researched about paying VAT and stamp duty, I've researched about custom clearance, I've added all of these costs, and I've noticed the fact that I'd be paying half the price if I did everything myself, as opposed to buying a car in the UK. To me, the only negatives would be waiting times, which can take anywhere from 4 to 6 months. The next step was for me to register with Pacific Coast Autos. Once registered, I paid a deposit, I followed their instructions, terms and conditions, and I was given a contact who provided me with information on how to purchase a car, what to look out for, then provided me with their website. I've registered and I started browsing the auction catalog. I think it took me around 2 to 4 weeks to find the actual spec I wanted to buy. Pacific Coast Autos were able to provide me with translation of the auction sheets, but a lot of times I've also used Google Translate to translate these quite quicker because of the time difference. But of course their translation is a lot better than Google Translate. And so I've asked some of the guys at Pacific Coast Autos to bid on the vehicle for me. Next morning when I woke up, I found out that I won the car, and that's where the process kind of began for me. That was in September last year, 2024. There's different type of services that you can purchase from Pacific Coast Autos. Like for example, you can ask them to take videos and pictures of your vehicle, run GVAC speedo check to see if it all verifies with the local history. I've pretty much ticked every box for every service, and the service was phenomenal, really was. They were very, very smooth, really great guys, and I'll be buying more cars with them in the future. So they took the pictures, they did everything, they sent me the full report, they sent me all the pictures, videos, they handled deregistration in Japan, all the paperwork within the country. They sorted out my insurance, like the shipping insurance, bill of lading, and shipping of the vehicle to Bristol. They sorted out the invoice with the FOB price for the purposes of paying stamp duty and VAT. It did take about a month, almost a month, to get the car shipped because of the ship, basically. That was the only available ship. I've asked them to ship it like ASAP, so any port in the UK would suffice for me. And then I think there were a few delays with the ship not arriving on time, so it's nothing to do with Pacific Coast Autos, of course. And then the car was boarded in November. It was scheduled to arrive on the 25th of December, but it actually arrived in the port on the 2nd of January. Once the car was being shipped, I started researching about what I need to do here in the UK. I haven't properly planned everything. I started reaching out to various customs clearance agents. I started reaching out to members of the forums, seeking advice about transportation and so on. The main issue I had is, of course, trying to insure the car on the VIN number. Insuring your import, well, my import was very difficult with like normal insurers like Aviva and Admiral, because their database is absolutely crap. They can't find a 2012 Alphard, but they can find a 2012 Vellfire. So I had to find a specialist insurer, and then insuring on the VIN is a lot more expensive than insuring the car once you have the registration. So what I ended up doing is finding a custom agent who's going to sort out all the paperwork, stamp duty, VAT on my behalf, as well as transportation from the port, and that was amazing. I can recommend you guys the guys that I've used, and I'll leave the description down below for you to check them out. I found them on Google based on really good reviews. So the customs agent, they sorted out the delivery of my vehicle. Once it arrived here, I had to get it MOT'd, so I had to get like a day's insurance on it via the VIN number. Drove it to an MOT station, MOT'd, it passed with flying colors, and currently I'm waiting for the Nova. Once the Nova arrives, I'll be able to send my V55/5 to DVLA along with the fee, like £55, tax for 6 months, export certificate, and I think that's pretty much it. And then I need to wait like 4 to 6 weeks for the car to be registered and for DVLA to send me the registration number, not the plates, but the number on the letter. Once that number arrives, I need to contact a custom manufacturer in the UK that customizes number plates. Normally costs about 50 to 80 pounds. Tell them the registration number, and then they'll be able to send me the plates. Once I put those on, I can drive my car. Of course, I'll need to insure it, but then I can drive my car. So these were the steps I've taken so far. Now, with respect to the cost, so I told you that the Alphards that I've been looking at, like 3.5 litre 2012 with like good spec and not like poverty spec inside. Like I wanted captain seats, mid row, front row. I wanted it to be all black inside. I hate cream beige, you know, with kids and dog, you destroy the whole interior. I wanted it to have rear camera sensors at the back and the front, and some of the bits and bobs that were specific to me, basically. So I'm going to give you a rough idea of how much you may potentially need to fork out. So the vehicle costs for a 2012 3.5 Alphard with 100,000 kilometers to 150,000 kilometers, expect to pay 600,000 to 750,000 yen. So I'm going to go with the average price of how much it costs based on all the information I gathered, including the cost of my car. So let's say you will pay 700,000 yen for your Alphard. This equates to £3,615 in today's money. Shipping was quite expensive. That was 387,000 yen, which was nearly £2,000. So all in for the vehicle and shipping, and that would be your FOB price for the stamp duty and VAT, expect to pay around £4,000 to £4,500, and use that figure to add stamp duty and VAT, because that will be your FOB price. I think it's called freight on board if I'm not mistaken, but that's what is used to calculate your stamp duty and VAT. So basically 10%, and let me read that off my phone. So input duty is 10% of the car's value, right? And VAT payable is 20% of the total. So basically, if your car was worth 4k, you add 10%, which is £400, so that's 4.4k, and then you calculate 20% of that 4.4k, and that is going to be your estimate VAT payable. That's £880 on top of 4.4k, which means the total price of your car should come up to £5,280. And again, this is just to get stamp duty and VAT in the UK. And this is not a financial advice, and this is not me calculating your stamp duty and VAT. You need to do that yourself. I would suggest getting some professionals like I did. I got a customs agent that sorted everything out for me. I'm just using my calculator to give a rough idea of what it would cost if you are to buy an Alphard 2012 for about 4k